It almost feels like a cult when having the lyrics up. Yeah, she'll just dribble.
You need the bouncy ball.
You need the bouncy ball. My next slide animation trick to do that. And I still have the bit.ly link if you ever want to find this video. It's bit.ly/drupal. Okay, let's get started. So general housekeeping stuff, for those of you who may not know. First Tuesday of every month, we have the Drupal meetup. I know it's a little confusing because we had a meetup last week. That was a special end of the month meetup, so it's still first Tuesday. Lightning Talk formats on the odd months, and Drupal Night formats on the even months. And tonight is an even month because it's 12. So we have featured speaker, a session length topic. If you don't know where the bathrooms are, they are behind the pillars over here. Just an FYI. So tonight we have Falling in Love with Software Development again. I don't know if that's how the connotation Justin has for his title, but by Justin Ludwig, and he'll be introduced, be recorded, he'll present for us, and then afterwards I'll come up with some general community news and announcements. So, Ben, are you taking over? Justin, plug it in.
Are we all set on the recorder and all that?
That's not my job.
In the church.
Okay. Alright, just so you know what we're ready to go.
You're good to go.
Okay. Alright, thanks everybody. It's good to see everyone again. It's good to have a good crowd. So thank you for coming out to Drupal Nights. Tonight I am very pleased to introduce you guys to Justin Ludwig. Justin and I have worked together for over 5 years now, and Justin's he's one of the earlier developers to join our team, and he's done a lot in both the older versions of Bioraft and some of the new stuff with Drupal 8. So he's got a lot of great experience and has a very unique and entertaining way of going about things. So, anyway, I'm very pleased to introduce Justin Ludwig.
Thanks, Ben. So it looks like I lost you again in this slide. Well, happens. We'll leave with that. So yes, I am Justin Ludwig, and this is Falling in Love with Software Development. There's no consent. A little about me. I am a senior software engineer at Bioraft. They're the folks that organize these Drupal Nights events. If you don't know anything about us, we are preventing the zombie apocalypse and have been using Drupal. Boom. Since 4.6. So if you have any questions about that, want to find out more, go to bioraft.com or drupalnights.org, or talk to any of the lovely rafters here. I've been doing Drupal myself since 2007. That was, I think Drupal 5 was in the heyday back then. And you can find me on drupal.org, jludwig, GitHub, jludwig, email me, justin@jludwig.net. There's a lot of jludwigs. So yeah, 7 simple hacks to Drupal rockstar. That was the original title, and it was a joke. There are no hacks that I know of. I mean, if what you want to do is just be known for doing a lot of Drupal stuff, then I guess you can hire some Eastern Europeans. But I don't know. I think some people did. There's some top 10 Drupal contributors here. This is really about some changes that I've been implementing to get more out of my career in life. And it's aimed towards software developers, but really I think anyone can get something out of it. If you want to regain some passion that you had for your career, or want to be more effective at what you're doing, or even if you just want to come here for the free beer and food, you're in the right place. So a little backstory, more about moi. Went too fast there. I've always loved computers and their capabilities. I remember, back in the day, my first computer, my parents brought it home actually. It was their computer, but I used it all the time. They loaded up Netscape Navigator and showed me the web, and I thought it was amazing. I was this little geeky 5-year-old, but I wanted to build websites too. I thought, I really want to do that. So that was a goal of mine as a little kid. And eventually I found GeoCities. We all remember that, yeah. It kind of quenched my thirst, but it wasn't that great, as we all know. Not as powerful as Drupal. Wow, Drupal on GeoCities, that'd be cool. So eventually my parents did buy a new computer and gave me their old one. And that's when I really got addicted to the computer. I soon discovered Linux after that, and well, I still mostly use their computer because mine was usually broken. Had other passions, other interests, really like music, played guitar, some singing, loved finding new music. But I was not into school. Wasn't really my thing. And somehow things got out. Obviously, if school wasn't in the picture, then I could be happy, right? So I ended up doing that. I tested out of high school a couple years early, and I was like, okay, cool. No more school. Everything's going to be great. So I lived on my computer for a while, found out about MMORPGs and did that for a while. I wrote some bots on them and ended up becoming incredibly rich in the video game, not in real life. So, yeah, my parents made me get a job. I ended up working at a warehouse, and it sucked. But, I had a plan though. I was incredibly rich on these games. What if I saw that there were people selling these for real money? It's called RMT. What if I did that? I started selling the money in game to get money in real life. So I did do that. And the first site that I did that with was Drupal. It didn't really work out very well. It turns out that the competition that had started earlier had whole teams of people in China that were gold mining, so that was one thing. They were even richer than I was. They had people on 24/7 for live chat, pay-per-click ads, trusted name, all that sort of a thing. So I still had to do that sort of work. My plan didn't work out. After that, I did take a break from tech for a while. And actually broke up with video games altogether at that point. I met an amazing girl. 11 months later, we were married. And something I didn't mention is that we live in Silicon Valley. And with her, she's a classical singer and an opera singer and a rock singer. And she wasn't making money, and I wasn't making money. And at that point, because we'd been together for a year, really doing the whole music thing, I really wanted to be a composer or conductor, maybe a rock star, I don't know. So that really wouldn't work out though, because Silicon Valley, there's a reason for the term starving musician. So on our honeymoon, I became a freelancer. We lived in Mexico for a little while, and I was doing stuff like Odesk and just weird little jobs online. I found cool stuff on the Drupal forums. They used to have those paid services spots, so I do stuff there. But I didn't have a real brand. I was this 19-year-old kid, had a business idea that failed, learned some Drupal, knew computers pretty well. If only I had a steady tech job, then I could be happy, right? So I did get a steady tech job. I started working as an IT manager for a small company that had a web app on Drupal 6. And it was cool. I still wasn't happy though because I was doing tons of tech support and doing the IT managery things like talking to vendors and fixing other people's computers when they looked at forms. Only about 20% of my time was spent doing the development on the site. So if only I had a job where I was doing Drupal 100%. Well, I did go back to freelancing for a little bit after that. After that, I found a job where I could do Drupal 100%. And it was something that was really cool, really innovative. We had real world problems. It was on my favorite CMS, everybody's favorite CMS here. But it was not quite what I thought. The reason was, one, I wasn't the rockstar developer that I thought I was at the time. It turns out that, you don't know everything when you're 19.
What?
So I remember I'd get these tasks and they would take me the whole day and I was embarrassed about it, so I would just kind of say, oh yeah, I did that in half an hour, and then just stay up all night doing other work after that, kind of make up for it. My skills did improve, and I did get better. I didn't realize it for a while, but my satisfaction for the work and my self-worth didn't really, they would continue to decline for a while. But it turns out that it really wasn't the work, it wasn't any of the external factors. What other people were doing, how much I was being paid. It was my own way of thinking, my own habits, my own outlook. It had turned my dream job from when I was a 5-year-old geek into, I didn't look forward to getting up in the morning. So now we're finally getting into what this talk is really about. It took a long time of trying stuff out and falling and getting back up and doing all that sort of stuff. But right now, I really do love what I do again. I love my job. I love my life, more importantly. And it's not perfect, of course. Nothing's perfect. I can continue to grow and will continue to grow, hopefully. I'm also not a life coach. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a motivational speaker at all. But I'm a software nerd, and I really wanted to talk about some cool Drupal 8 stuff. This has had more of an impact on my own life than any of that. So finally, we're at the close of this section. It really was a long box talk. Joke time. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl in the bathroom?
Why?
Because it has a silent key. Okay, so what's coming? Just like to break things up a little bit, after every section, I'll do a little joke, maybe a little dance. So to keep things organized, I kind of frame these things into a couple topics, but they really bleed into each other a lot. I just wanted some big organization. One is about life and outside of work. The other is about during work. And then I also am throwing in a technical bonus for technical skills for software devs, so you can say, oh yeah, there was some Drupal related stuff. Now, a disclaimer, let me see. Was license agreement disclaimer? No, I'm not going to read that. This talk is about what I did and what I'm doing, and it's not guaranteed to work for anyone, of course. In fact, I highly recommend that you don't take everything word for word and do exactly as I say. It was not the intention at all. I tried that before, not doing what I say, but what I read online. I remember I got frustrated because I couldn't do the 16 things that everybody is supposed to do every single day, according to some guy online. But we're all human beings and we all have so much in common, but we're also unique. We have our own personality traits, cultural backgrounds, values, belief sets, lifestyles. So take what you will. I do think it'll be good to listen to them because there is some stuff that is really worked out for me here. So part 1, life. There's a specific type of energy that I want to talk about first, and this is going to sound kind of woo-woo-y, but first thing I'm going to talk about is willpower. Willpower is real, and it turns out that, like a battery, it can get used up. I'm going to make a book recommendation. A lot of this section is coming from a book called Willpower, Rediscovering the Greatest Human Strength. This guy, the Roy guy, I don't know the other guy very well, is the one that did a lot of the really famous tests. He's really known in the field. But we'll talk about right now one specific study that he did, along with some other folks. His wife was in there, Western Reserve University. This was a publication, I think 1999 or so, on this study. One really famous one. What they did was they took a bunch of volunteers, students, into a room and sat them at a table with a plate of freshly baked cookies and a bowl of radishes. So they separated the people into 3 groups as a first group, and they were told that they could eat cookies. Second group, they said you cannot eat cookies, but you can eat radishes. And there was a third group, that was the control group. They didn't have cookies or radishes at the table, it was just not a thing. So left them there, cookies, radishes, and watched through two-way mirror, whatever it's called. They left the room and they watched them. They all did what they were supposed to do. Will Rogers didn't eat his cookie or anything like that. He was in the radish group. And the researchers came back and they told them, okay, yeah, we're doing a study. We're trying to see how people work out logic problems as high schoolers versus college students. So they gave them an impossible puzzle. And they wanted to measure how long it would take before they gave up. What do you think happened?
Some smart kid solved the Rubik's Cube.
It wasn't a Rubik's Cube. So it turns out that they measured it in time and attempts, and the chocolate and the no food, the control group, had a very similar time that they had spent before giving up. The radish group only lasted 8 minutes. So Will Smith and Will, I forgot his last name.
Errol.
Thank you. 20 minutes, roughly. Rogers, 8 minutes. So, this is a Drupal talk, so. They call this ego depletion. And after that, 300 independent studies had replicated these results within 15 years of it being published. So, willpower is a real thing. The effects of ego depletion include decreased ability to resist urges, makes focusing more difficult, slows down cognitive function, decreases ability to control reactions. So that's some bad stuff. What now? So we know that willpower is used up by resisting urges like not eating that cookie. It's used up by mental processes. It's used up by making decisions even. So we can look at each of these and figure out ways to deal with not losing willpower, as much willpower. So with resisting urges, sorry, I couldn't help myself. One thing that you can do is change the environment. That's a great idea. You know, if you have to be on Facebook all the time, go somewhere where you can't go on Facebook. Be mindful of the trigger. This sounds like a lot of woo-woo, but you know, when you just think about what it is that's causing you to have that urge, for some reason it uses less willpower, it's easier to deal with it. It's called mindfulness. We'll talk a little bit about that, but not too much. Mental processes, that's another one. One way that you can slow down the willpower with that is by delegating some of these things to technology. So instead of trying to solve everything in your head, you can use a calculator as an example. You can break down complex problems into small, simple pieces, which you should be doing anyway, because a lot of times you'll just be trying to think of how the whole thing works and end up wasting a lot of mental energy. And one thing that I do, I didn't read this anywhere, but I like to sharpen my brain during times when it's appropriate. So if I've gone through the day and I found, okay, I have a lot of energy still, and I know that I don't have anything left, I'll use one of those brain training apps, something like that, and make sure that I have enough willpower at the end of it to brush my teeth or whatever else I need to do. But usually by morning I'm recharged. Last one. Don't tell anyone, this is not Creative Commons. Just really wanted that picture. Decisions fatigue. You can prevent the wearing out of willpower by reducing the number of decisions that you have to make. So you see this with a lot of people, like I think Steve Jobs did that, wearing the same thing every day. Soylent guys, they're, oh yeah, I don't have to think about food anymore. Even Obama, he had specific outfits that he had set up. He wouldn't have to think about it. You can prepare for things. So an example of this is a shopping list. It turns out that these stores really know about this stuff too. So they set things up to make it so that all the candy's there when you're leaving after you've made all the decisions and you have very low willpower and you have to have that resource. And you can also just decide, like if it's a big deal, take your time with a time limit, but if it's not, then just decide. A lot of times we put too much thought into things that are kind of arbitrary, and I'm guilty of that. So yeah, moving on. We're going to talk about habits for a little while. So the reason why we're going from willpower to habits is that habits take little to no willpower and can sometimes even recharge willpower. They're extremely powerful, and your habits end up forming who you are. There are good ones like exercising, keeping your house clean, helping your community. There are bad ones like overspending, racking up debt, spending too much time surfing the web, doing crack. So I'm going to recommend another book here. This one is called The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business, and a lot of this section is based on that. So we'll talk about bad habits first, because no matter how many good habits you have, you're kind of screwed if you're smoking crack. The bad news is that you can't erase a habit, like riding a bike. Once you learn to ride a bike, you can go back 30 years later and still ride a bike. There is good news though, that is you can rewire a habit. So let me show you a video.
Oh, I know this exactly.
This is a reverse steering bike. And I'm not going to show you the whole thing because this guy's really good at it. He's probably been practicing this for a good week or so. A lot of people just fall over. People look at that and they think, what the heck's going on here? What? You gotta be kidding me, right? Well, he still sucked at it, by the way. It is so, riding a bike takes a lot of mental calculation. You've got to maintain your balance, move left or right, while pushing your pedals. There's a lot going on. And this bike was made so that if you push to the left, the wheel moves to the right. If you move to the right, it moves to the left. It really screws you up. There have been people that have rewired this habit though. See how I can do this. Another YouTube video. So this guy is also doing a steering push bike. I guess you don't see him. this over here. Oh, it's full screen. Technical difficulties. One second. Did I mess that up? I'm trying to get too fancy here.
Click on the one on the screen.
Did the screen move or what's going on?
No. Can you just click the one there?
That's the wrong one. Okay. Well, we'll move on from this end. Oh, it looks like I changed this over.
Now we see all your stuff.
I'm going to put this down for a second. Give me one moment.
You leave it on.
Okay, we'll just move on. I don't know why it's all the way down there anymore. I mean, all the way down there now. But we'll move on. So there's something called the habit loop model. And what it is there's a cue, there's a routine, and there's a reward. It goes around in a circle. The cue is what triggers the habit. And an example of this would be music from the ice cream trucks going around. You hear that music and you really want ice cream. And it takes effort to resist the cue versus deriving satisfaction from following the cue. Oftentimes it'll be a location, time of day, other people, an emotional state, or an action that immediately precedes the urge. This is even how loving in someone's exactly. You have your reward. You have your reward, which is the reason the brain decides to remember the previous steps. What happened to my slide? So there's another slide in here, which is the routine. I'll just talk about that on here. That's what you do. So it could be getting ice cream. It could be exercising when you see your exercise shoes. It could be smoking crack when you want to smoke crack. So the reward is the reason why your brain decides to remember the previous steps. And it does this by releasing dopamine, which is a chemical, but there's a reason behind why your brain releases dopamine. It could be for reproduction reasons, sustenance, you want to make sure that you eat your food, accomplishment, and all of these are really important because without dopamine, they've experimented with rats, stuff like that. Rat will die of starvation because it doesn't feel like it needs to eat, has no drive to do anything. So another example are flashing lights and sounds in a freemium game. They've really used the dopamine thing there. So there are ways to change a habit. And the framework that the author of that book said is to identify the routine. For example, he said going to the cafeteria in the afternoon, getting a cookie, and sitting and chatting with friends. Experiment with the rewards because it's not always obvious. In his example, was it the chocolate? Was it the social interaction? Was it the energy boost from the calories? And it takes time too. Each time the urge to repeat the routine happens, try changing one of these factors. Try changing the reward, the routine, or both. And he found that his craving went away by just chatting with friends. He didn't crave the cookie, he wanted the socialization. So step one is to isolate the cue. There's a lot of stimuli every single day. Or step three is to isolate the cue. There's a lot of stimuli every single day, so this can be difficult. But we talked about the categories that it falls into. So just ask yourself, where are you? What time is it? What's your emotional state? who else is around, and what action immediately preceded the urge. And then to change the habit, you come up with a plan. Since Ludwig discovered that his cue was the time of day, 3:30, every single day, he'd go to the cafeteria, get a cookie, start chatting with friends, and he knew that the reward was the chatting with friends and socializing. So he came up with a plan. At 3:30, he would walk to a friend's desk and chat for 10 minutes. Not sure if the friend was happy with him coming up and talking to him the whole time, but after a few weeks, it became a habit, and he didn't have a cookie all the time now. Now, I will say that relapses will happen, and that's okay. A lot of people have kind of a all or nothing mentality, like, oh, I just had a cookie, so I'm going to go eat a cake, and I guess the diet's over now. The truth is that missing one day, let's say you're going to the gym, trying to form a new habit, missing one day really has no effect. It's when more than that happens, is when progress is lost. So don't beat yourself up, just keep at it. And let's go back for a second. I actually did this myself. I was a smoker for a while, and unfortunately my reward was the nicotine. And I couldn't figure out how to do the nicotine thing, so I did this a little bit different. I found that I could switch to vaping was the first step, and then I went down on the nicotine until I got to 0, and I was doing okay with just 0 vaping. Now, when I'm stressed out, like right now, because of all these technical difficulties, I've got a carrot. I'm still doing the same sort of thing, and it really does help. I feel better now. So how long does this habit thing take? It takes 21 days, right? No, it doesn't. That was all decided by this guy, Maxwell Maltz, plastic surgeon, author of Psycho-Cybernetics in 1960. He's a cool guy. Nothing against him. He was just wrong. The reason why he came up with this 21 days thing was because that's how long it took for you to perform a plastic surgery for people to get used to their new face. So it's 3 months then, right? We've all heard 3 months as well. Now, the reality, and this sounds kind of dumb, is however long it takes for it to become a habit. It needs to be automatic, require as little thinking as possible. So if it's something simple, it could take 2 weeks. If it's something that's complex, it could take 9 months, even longer. Like 2 weeks, you find out that it's good to mouthwash after brushing. Okay, I'll have that. 9 months, switching from cigarettes to carrots, although I think that took me years. Talk about Keystone habits. So these are good habits. By the way, the thing that I talked about before, you can also use to develop new habits, as in positive habits, if you want to associate something that you know will be a trigger. So one thing that I've done, for example, is leave my shoes out, my shoes and exercise clothes out, and I'll be more likely to exercise after that. So Keystone habits, these are habits that lead to the development of multiple good habits. One example is setting an early bedtime. You'll get increased productivity because you're sleeping better. Usually sleep has to do with how consistent you are with it. You'll have improved relationships because you're not as cranky. You will be able to use that time in the morning when everybody else is asleep to get some exercise. Maybe do some meditation, do something that you've heard you should do. And you even get a promotion at work for the increased productivity and punctuality from getting there on time. By the way, this is not me. I have trouble sleeping, but this is just an example. I picked out 4 Keystone habits that you need to develop. I know I said earlier, don't listen to what I say, but now I'm saying listen to what I have to say. And these are reading. I do a lot of reading, so this one was the easiest one for me. those book recommendations, the great thing about it is when you read, you are reading something in a short amount of time that an expert, hopefully, put together in a very long time. There's meditation that's been extremely helpful to me, and exercise. So we'll start off with reading. I did change that to quality reading because novels count, but your friends' Facebook posts don't count. You can learn about anything from experts, improve your vocabulary and grammar, improve focus, and you learn about all these new things that you can try, new habits to set up. For me, this is the first thing that I did with these Keystone habits because I was already doing it. And I kept reading about meditation and exercise, meditation and exercise. I figured I'd try meditation because I don't like exercise. So meditation, one thing that this helps out with is increasing your self-awareness and managing emotions. You get an improved sense of well-being and a mindset of the beauty of life. And it really helps to live in the moment, improves focus, all of these things. And we've all heard this, but the truth is meditation has really helped me. I have had social anxiety for one part of my life, and I'm up here in front of a bunch of people talking. I actually started exercise only because meditation allowed me to kind of be present while I was exercising and not hate it completely. And it also gave me kind of the more motivation to do it. Exercise is really important because it affects how you feel, get more energy, more willpower, you'll sleep better, and it's a good thing. You should exercise. I don't hate it as much as I used to. My tip for everybody would be to just work on one. Don't try to do all of those at the same time. Like me, I chose, I'm already reading, so that's cool. I'll do the meditation thing. Got that in the bag, pick up exercise, yeah. One thing is like you'll hear about people saying, yeah, I'm trying to quit smoking, I'm quitting smoking and exercising now, and then they don't do either. But if you start exercising, a lot of times you'll want to be healthier and quit smoking. And if you quit smoking, a lot of times it makes exercising easier because you're not using as much. So yeah, choose the one that will be the easiest for you and make doing this your primary goal. Each one of these will make the other ones easier, from what I've seen. And don't try starting more than one at a time. Talk about some other good habits now, not go into so much depth. Didn't know what to do for the slides, so I just put a bunch of funny stuff. Systemize. Don't keep everything in your mind. If you are saying, yeah, I'm going to have to remember to do these things, you're using up RAM, and you're not able to be fully engaged with what's going on. So don't keep everything in your mind. You use less willpower by setting up systems. You don't have to make as many decisions. It's great. Allows you to be more present. There's a lot of different systems that are out there. Personal Kanban, eating frogs, getting things done. None of them are perfect. I was going to say that they all suck, but they're actually all good. But they will not be perfect for you. None of them are perfect. So choose one and improve on it and make it perfect for you. There's a link here. If someone is interested in it, you can just Google it. The point is, you don't want to fly by the seat of your pants. Start collecting data. You can keep a journal. And collect data on your habits as well. Journal is great because you can, a lot of times when you learn something throughout the day or you have a general feeling, you'll just kind of forget about it the next day. With the journal, it has really helped me, at least. Collect data on your habits. There's technology that helps you do this. There's one called the Habit Loop Tracker. It's on F-Droid. It's open source. Also, One Bit Journal, also open source. You could do the old school method with notebooks. I do transfer mine onto the computer afterwards to be able to graph things out. And what this really does is it allows you to really learn what you learned throughout the day, be able to reference back to it, and track your progress and see what's going on. I'm going to say stop wasting time as well. Collect data on what you spend time doing. There's a lot of apps for doing that. Mentioned some here that I have no idea what any of them do. I just use Bash. If you don't need to do something and it doesn't bring you joy or meaning, then why are you doing it? Because it's a habit. Well, break that habit. If you do really like something, like I like watching movies. I think that it enriches my life. I like to cook. I'm not going to do the servant thing. And my wife cook and we eat. It's great. But we set some limits to the amount of time spent on that. I'm not going to watch all of the Star Wars movies in a row or something. We find that people today spend 2 hours per day on TV. Source of this is 2017, by the way. I was shocked I thought TV was dead. And 2.2 hours a day on social media. It sounds a little low to me. I think this might have been on all old people, maybe. Source for that was statusstuff.com. Also 2017. Second one is global. The first one was Americans. But that's a lot of time. That is about 5 hours a day. Not really doing that much. If you were to put that into learning a new language, you'd probably be able to speak a new language in a year. It is good to have downtime though, but try to make that a productive or creative downtime. So I talked about earlier about how I like to play guitar and do stuff like that, and I lost that for a long time. I was just so focused on work. But we all do need downtime. Creative is the key word though. Downtime, I don't mean binging on cartoons or something like that, which I like to do, but it's not very creative on my part. The creative outlet really makes life better. Since I started playing again, it's really done a lot for just how I feel. And I'm not completely sure if it's 100% that, because I've been doing all these other things recently. This is over years and years and years, so I have noticed a difference though. Just feel recharged. Another one would be to find balance by getting off balance. It sounds really weird. I got this from a book called Procrastinate on Purpose by Rory Vaden. Yeah, I read a lot. And what he says is that balance is good, but you don't have to be balanced all the time. He has turned life into seasons. So each season is kind of a time of imbalance. And the reason for this is it's okay to be imbalanced for a while because you'll be able to really use that, leverage that time where you're really getting better at something to improve the rest of your life. He says, figure out the most important, what is most important based on what will multiply your life the most. An example would be, let's say you're crazy in debt. Paying $10 a month above your minimum is, you're going to be in debt forever, dude. So you make some sacrifices. In other areas of life, you don't, you just don't spend as much. And you end up getting out of debt faster. At that point, it's way easier to stay out of the hole because of compounding interest and all that crazy math stuff. For me, it was getting in a bit of better shape. I'm not in great shape, but you know what? I don't vomit every time I exercise now, so that's an improvement. Next thing I want to talk about is nutrition. We all know it's important. It affects how you feel. It affects your energy levels. I don't want to talk about it too much because of politics, but I am going to say just keep track of what you eat. If nothing else, just write it down and you're like, oh wow, I did not need to eat all of those. Next one is sleep. Actually, this is very important, but I don't have much to add here. I have a lot of problems, sleep problems. I think my coworkers can vouch for this. Getting comfortable. That's why I'm doing this. All of these tips really are uncomfortable if you're new to them, because getting out of your comfort zone is really the only way to grow. You can go overboard, so don't, I don't think that anyone's going to go overboard though, for the most part. Just don't be stupid. And continue learning about your career. This is in the life section because it needs to be done outside of work, during your life. Go and, know that the tech field's always changing, so go to events. Thanks for coming, everyone. Learn some new programming languages. Just keep up to date. Keep learning, it's good. And this is a good segue into part, well, I guess we'll do a joke first. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Two.
To who?
It is to whom. I heard some of you say to who, though. It's to whom. Okay, part 2, work. First thing, focus. That's all there is on this page because kind of exemplifies focusing. Focusing is the most important thing to getting stuff done on a timely manner and just at all. You talk about multitasking versus task switching. So there is true multitasking, which can improve some productivity. Things like listening to an audiobook while you exercise, or chewing bubble gum while you walk instead of doing. That would take forever, right? But for the most part, what we're doing is moving from one task to another, and then to another, to another, and it kills your productivity. I'm not going to go into it. Just search DuckDuckGo, it's true. And even multitasking can kill your productivity. So one bad habit that I had after kind of getting better at programming, when I would do something that was kind of boring, I would put on YouTube video in the background or even listen to an audiobook or something like that while programming, and that ended up taking too much of my attention away. I wasn't focusing. Even on things that I knew that I could do, I wasn't focusing. And now I listen to water and stuff, and stamina. We'll talk about the Pomodoro Technique. This is one a lot of people have probably heard of. It's working for 25 minutes, focusing only on a single task. Take a 5-minute break, and every 4 Pomodoros, you take 15 to 20 minutes, and you use the first few minutes to get started, last few minutes to wrap up, and tell others what you're doing. So sometimes if you're at work and you have coworkers, they might be upset by you not responding for 25 minutes. So just tell them what you're doing. Say, hey guys, I'm doing this Pomodoro thing. It means that I'm focusing for 25 minutes, so I will help you. If it's an emergency, get in contact with me somehow, just keep pinging me and I'll eventually get annoyed. But know that the reason why I'm ignoring you right now is because I'm trying to get work done. But I'll get back to you, I promise. So for me, when I first started switching to this thing, I was only able to do 4 Pomodoros a day, which doesn't sound like that much at all. It's only 2 hours. But I've meant for intense work. There was just a lot of meetings and then other types of work, and then I'd find that something would come up when I was in the middle of a Pomodoro, so I wouldn't count it, so on and so forth. Now I do 8 Pomodoros, which is really, really intense work, which is only 4 hours of work. You might say, well, that still doesn't sound like that much, but it is very, very focused work. I get way more done than I ever have when I work all day and all night. And I'm working way more than 4 hours because there's other stuff to do that's not that intense. Like batching. This is doing as many small tasks within the same context at the same time. So you've got email, meetings, old Slack messages. All of these you can just blast through your email at one time of the day instead of doing what I did at one point, which was work. Oh, I've got an email, I'm going to respond to that. Okay, work, got another email. It's inefficient. Just batch it. Then we've got batch API down there because Drupal. The tip for this is to use the Pomodoro Technique. When I was mentioning my Pomodoros earlier, I don't count this sort of stuff, but Pomodoro Technique can still help you get through all your emails, get through all your old Slack messages, etc., really faster and more effectively. Next thing is to reduce distractions. So this is important. One thing that I've done is I wanted to show everybody how I've done it, but I worry about doing it on here because it's already so low and not what I expected. So I close all my tabs. I only have one tab open at any given time, really. And people look at me like I'm nuts. But if you want something that you want to read later, you can save it to Pocket or Wallet Bag if you're looking. If you are working on multiple things at the same time, have multiple windows open, that's fine. But you don't have to listen to me at all again. But this is, I used to be a 1,000 tabs kind of person, and I'm way more productive with one tab. I also close down most windows. I use something called Teamworks. People might know Screen. It allows you to set up sessions, so you could have one session that is, your BioRef4 work, BioRef4 coding, another one that is for BioRef4 command line, another one that's for BioRef3 coding, another one that's for some notes on random stuff. And you can close all those windows, and then when you actually need it, pull it up and be exactly where you are. It's a really neat technology. I recommend you look into it. Point is reduce distractions. Another thing, what's going on here? Okay. Take breaks. The reason for this is that your subconscious is way smarter than your conscious mind. Like riding a bike, as I was saying earlier, you don't think about all of your movements. You communicate with your subconscious through focus, so that's how you get your subconscious to do something. You can't just sit back all day and be like, oh yeah, what are you doing? I'm working, my subconscious is working on it. That's not how it works. But you allow your subconscious to do its magic by taking breaks. So I have a good example of this. Tons of good examples, but one was from about a week ago. I was working on Shibboleth, which is one of the most frustrating software things to install and get working. And I did that years ago. It was one of my first projects. Thanks, Ben. But I was trying to get it working with Nginx, which is even more frustrating. I was having tons of problems with it. Couldn't figure it out. I was working all day to kind of get it done because I had all sorts of other stuff going on. I was letting things get out of whack. I didn't take any breaks. Anyway, I ended up working all day and into the night. I woke up the next day and I was like, oh, I think I figured it out. I didn't think about it at all. It was just, my subconscious said, hey, you remember reading that thing on that GitHub issue about how for Nginx it's now in ship2.xml instead of this other file? Yeah, go fix it there. And I went there and it worked. So these were supposed to be the cool coming on as I click, but they're all here right now. I did double my words per minute. When I typed as a kid, I just did the kind of one chicken, that sort of thing. And I switched to using Colmac. And this was, I learned to type properly. Colmac's way better than QWERTY. You should check it out if you type in properly, but your productivity won't really go up. You're not really a writer, you're a programmer. And your main skill is not typing really fast. So yeah, I doubled my I doubled my words per minute, but my productivity did not change at all. On the other hand, I noticed that I would figure things out on my way home from work, just walking to the bus, and so I said, what if I get stuck? I just go on a walk instead. Now I actually skateboard instead, and that's even better, because I'm even more distracted from what I'm doing, because if I mess up, I'll die. And when I started doing that, I plowed through all my tickets in that week. Really helped out. Note on optimization, since we're on the focus thing. Optimization is great. I love tinkering and optimizing my workflow. Just wait for the appropriate time. If you're working and you think of a really great way to optimize your workflow, don't do it right away. Unless I cannot see my terminal because the color scheme is completely wrong and I can't see, I can't do anything. Just write it down and do it later. Write down what you can optimize. And unless it's really important, just put it in a queue and batch through them. So now I'd love to show people some of the cool optimizations that I have, but focus while you have to focus. Don't optimize your keyboard. Communication. Everybody knows communication is really important. This is very key to being a productive member of society. If you're in a society, if you're living on your own, I guess it's not as important. I mean, like in Alaska, not living by yourself at home, still in society. One thing that I have to say here, I'm not the greatest communicator. I'm still learning it, still trying to figure things out, doing this to get used to public speaking. But what I learned is to communicate when you're stuck, even if it's to a rubber duck. I did not intend that rhyme. So let's say you're debugging something. It's really important to let your team members know that, hey, this is taking a little longer than I thought. But just the act of explaining it can also help you. That's why there's the rubber ducky technique, which is where people go through and they tell a rubber duck what's going on in every single step of the way, and then the rubber duck, master of all, tells them what the answer is. And set expectations and communicate early if there are changes to your timeline in some way. Don't say, oh yeah, I finished this in an hour when it probably took you all day. Planning and taking action. Step 1, take action. So with complex issues, I do recommend planning. Planning is part of taking an action for a complex issue. And plan as much as you need to plan. If it's really, really complex, then diagram it out, do what you need to do. Get started with implementation as soon as planned. I originally put ASAP, but people thought that meant as soon as possible. And I mean, as soon as it's planned, because you want to watch out for analysis paralysis. At some point, you might be planning just to not work on what you have to work on. For simple changes, just do it once your system tells you to. Just go out there and do it. A lot of times, taking action is really hard, but it's not actually hard. Implementation. If you feel stuck, do a crappy job. I do this when trying to write something, for example. I get stuck. I just do a shit copy. Just write horribly. But you know what? I'm at least writing. And it turns out to be better than I thought it would be. And I could go back and improve it. So you can even do this when coding. You can write doc blocks as method dummies. Just go back. Don't just go back and clean things up. Just don't wait too long to clean up, or you'll leave dummy text in the presentation. And then say, love what you do. This is done by focusing and being present. This is something that kind of goes back to the meditation. I was always somewhere else. I was always thinking, man, I'd be so happy if this was different. I'd be so happy if that was different. But I'm doing what I want and doing what I want to do. Just be present. You improve your life by improving your habits. You'll have your own journey, but it will make everything better and change your outlook. Really, life is more like a song than a journey. I talk to people and they say life is like a journey, but it's not, because a journey is about, I want to get from here to there, and that's my goal right there. While a song is about, there's a song playing, and you're enjoying the song. It's about the song. You're not trying to get to the end of the song as soon as possible. Otherwise, the best orchestra in the world would just be the one that plays the fastest. People would be writing songs that were just, one chord, done. It actually does happen, but same with, it could also be a dance. By the way, I did not come up with this. I forgot the guy who did though, and I did not have internet during this part. But a dance, you're not dancing just to get over there, like, this is the goal of the dance. No, it's to dance, So don't think of life so much as where you're trying to go. Yeah, think about it, plan, do all these things that I'm talking about, and learn from your past, but live in your present. Work really is an enriching part of life. We sometimes treat work as being this thing that we have to put up with, and sometimes it is. Sometimes you do have to put up with work, but there's a lot of people that I know that have retired and then been bored after that. Other people that retire and are happy, that's cool too, but for me, I feel I get a lot of fulfillment from my work. Now, bonus technical skills. By the way, all this does kind of tie together. Went too far. So Gherkin. Gherkin is a behavioral testing language. In Drupal, it's implemented with BHAP, and behavioral testing is great. We all know that. But it's even more useful for communication. So if you're a developer and you're working with product managers and product people, you might have trouble communicating with them sometimes. Like, oh, I thought you meant this. No, I meant that. Oh, well, you don't know how to say anything. Oh. So what I do now is I write Gherkin out before doing any changes. Before writing any code, write it out in Gherkin, because it's a framework that says, this is how you want to speak to this other person. Your words suck, use our words. And you follow those words, they read it, they could say, oh yeah, that is exactly what I want. I go on and I write everything out then. If not, this is what you had to change, well, good. I just avoided coding something that would have been wrong. It helps prevent miscommunications. And put it as a bonus here because it's kind of hard to do. When you get a ticket, you just want to write the code. So resist the urge, man. Automated testing is another one. Unit tests, we all love unit tests. Ensure your public methods work as expected. The trick is to write them while you're coding. Not everything about it, but go through and you'll find that you'll discover logic errors earlier. It'll help you think about your code, and you'll have your automated test done, your unit test at least. Integration test as well, because you don't only have unit tests. They ensure components work well together, and they also help you understand how code that you didn't write works. And the point of all this is to use the techniques earlier that we talked about throughout this whole thing to really get better code coverage. Work on your willpower. The thing is diagramming. I ran out of time, but I hit here and it doesn't do the thing. So diagramming, there's a lot of types, flowcharts, data flow diagrams, ER diagrams. There's a lot of tools. My favorite is paper. But it's great because it helps you understand what you're doing. It helps you break things down, these really complex systems. If it's a simple thing like we want the color over here changed, you don't have to write a diagram about that. But it can also help communicate things, because a lot of times, and my team knows this, I'll be talking about something and I'll say, oh yeah, it's going to work this way, and then that's going to happen, and then, and what did they say? Yeah, it's easier if you can show them, and it will also help you. And really, that's it for this section. So bonus 2, ear tips. I'm just kidding. So let's review. We had the life frame where we talked about willpower, about habits, overcoming bad habits, keystone habits, the ones that make other habits easier, and about taking one step at a time. Talked about some of the most important habits. It's actually supposed to be above the most important habits. More, we talked about other great habits like systemizing, collecting data, not wasting time, have some creative downtime, off-balance, balance, nutrition, sleep, getting out of your comfort zone, continuing education. With work, we talked about focus, Pomodoro Technique, eliminating distractions, multitasking. We talked about communication, kind of. Talked about planning and taking action, and talked about loving what you do. Also talked about Gherkin, automated testing, diagramming. So a lot of all of this is, I guess that's waiting for me. A lot of all of that has to do with each other. It all bleeds into each other. When you're trying to write when you're telling yourself that you're going to write your automated tests, but you're just jumping right to code even though you know that you shouldn't. That has to do with your habits. You can change your habits. You can change your habits because you know how willpower works and how the habit loop system works. Your life is just better in general because you're feeling good about where you are. You're able to focus more because you're meditating now. You're able to be more present, so you like what you're doing more. Yeah, this is what I've done. So that's it basically. Any questions? Okay.
So this sounds really great, and we all aspire to be trying something. But for mere mortals like me, even doing one step is so difficult because we just think, but nothing happens. So, Oracle, please tell us, how did you get an epiphany to do something at least when you actually did it? Because once you start one habit, you can start, but the first step is the most difficult one.
Yeah, first of all, I'm no Oracle, and I did not. Like, I wanted to do stuff and I didn't, and I wanted to do stuff and I didn't. But then I think what really changed was I learned that if you want to take your first step, you kind of just take your first step and you focus on it. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, when I was saying get balanced by imbalancing, I meant that as in focus your entire life on this one damn thing. Like, I want to exercise. You know, even though I puke every single time I do, I literally did. I focused on it and got through the first couple of times, and then it gets easier. You know, I don't puke anymore. So I wish I could make it easier, but just take the step and work on one thing at a time. Yes?
I feel like I've tried so many of the tools you listed. Actually doing it I haven't done so well with. But I'm pretty convinced that if I just get the right Pomodoro tool, I'll be able to do it. So which one do you use?
I write my own. Yeah, I am the same way. I kind of rely too much on my tools. You know, I've got my Vim working so well. It works so well, but that doesn't program for me. You know,
It doesn't play very well with my PHP start either.
It doesn't. We'll talk about that. It's not so much about the tools. And sometimes a technique won't work for you. So the Pomodoro Technique also doesn't work for everybody. But if you just focus on giving it a go and tracking these things, so really the writing things down step was a big part of it too. Writing, see what you're doing. It'll make a big difference, I think. Anything else? Okay.
Do you recommend any meditation resources?
There's a guy, what was his name? Dogen. He's a Japanese Zen guy. He's really cool. Actually, the only reason why I got into meditation was because I read a book called 10% Happier. So I'd recommend reading that book.
I already read it.
Okay. So the first time that I meditated, here's the thing about meditation: it doesn't feel like you're doing anything, and that's good. That means you're doing it right. it's really irritating because you can't really tell that you're doing it, but just doing it and sticking to it really is good for you because there's all this coming from all over the place at all times. And one way that it did help for me was I was incredibly stressed out over something this one time, and I got into bed and I put on a guided meditation for sleep specifically, and it was talking just about breathing. So maybe look on YouTube for guided meditations. It'll tell you how long to breathe. Breathe in for 4 seconds, and breathe out for 7 seconds or 8 seconds. And each one of those breaths was just so overwhelmingly good feeling. So that was the first time that I really noticed, hey, this is not bullshit. Try to get to a point where you notice that it's not bullshit.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it's not bullshit. It's just slowing down enough to institute that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't follow all these things either. Like I'm no oracle. This is just, yes.
So your comparison of life being more like a song than a journey reminds me that when I'm done here, I'm going to go to a square dance.
Oh, cool.
And I'll dance with 8 people and we'll start squared up, 2, 2, 2, 2. And a few minutes later, we'll be right back there. But getting back there is not the point of the activity.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, the activity is the activity. So, well, thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.